Good morning, beautiful people.
Good morning, good morning.
Happy Sunday morning. It is so good to see you. It is so good to be here with you as we gather together to celebrate the truth of who and whose we are, to celebrate the magnificence of God in us, through us, and as us. Let us begin as we always do with prayer. And this morning, our prayer champion, Reverend Shauna, will lead us in prayer.
Yes.
Good morning, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. Let's settle and center. Taking a long breath and breathe it out fully. Be here now. And as we are here now, we know that God is here right where we are. For there is only one presence. There is only one power. There is only one source working in and through and as us all. I recognize and affirm that this one presence and power and wisdom and source created me and abides in, through, and as me. There is no separation between me and God. And as I know this for myself, I know that this is true for each one of you. God created you because Mother, Father, God delights in you and fills every cell of your body with the love and power and wisdom from the one mind. I know that because we are one with God, all the answers are inside of us in our divinity. I know that all solutions are inside us as one with God. I know that everything we are has the power of God. And from this place of power and knowledge and faith and expectation, we can declare that everything is God and everything is good. As we gather here together today, we let go of all worries, doubts, and fears. We let go of events from yesterday and trust that tomorrow will unfold for our good. We stay in this day, and we rejoice that we come together as a community of faith. We rejoice that we come together as a community to awaken to the presence of God in and all around us. We rejoice that we come together as a community to celebrate this truth as one family. We give thanks that we come together as a community to embody unconditional love. We are ready as a community of faith to live our greatest lives. We are thankful that we can serve all creation. So today we start from a brand new place, and we begin our day with a positive idea, setting the stage for the remainder of the day and the remainder of the week. We begin our day with health and healing. We begin today with prosperity and abundance in all areas of our lives. We begin this day with unconditional love in all our relationships, with our families, with our lovers. We begin this day with unconditional love in all our relationships with friends and co-workers. We begin this day with unconditional love in all our relationships with neighbors and with the strangers we encounter during the week. We are God-filled and know that we might be the only Spirit of God they experience. Through this weekend service, we will leave changed from when we came. The meditation experience will expand our awareness and consciousness and experience of God. The music will lift up our spirits. The message will illuminate our hearts and minds. We will share heartfelt blessings of love and peace. We will celebrate the spiritual nature and center of our beings that overflow throughout the day. From this awareness, I have great joy and thankfulness for how much God loves me. From this awareness, I have great joy and thankfulness for how much I love myself and take radical care of myself. From this awareness, I have great joy and thankfulness for how much I love each and every one of you. I release these words back into the universal law that is always working and responding to us. I know and declare and embrace that that which is becoming, we have created in consciousness. So it is with total joy, anticipation, and expectation that I now affirm for us. Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
Yes, yes. Amen. Ashe. And so it is. Thank you, Reverend Shonda, for that wonderful prayer.
Yes,
powerful
yes.
prayer and centering prayer. Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here with you on this Sunday morning. It's so good to be here at whatever time you're finding yourself tapping into and catching this stream. And we, of course, would love to acknowledge our first-time guests. If you are joining us for the very first time, welcome. It is good to see you virtually. It is good to have you here virtually. It is good to connect with you in this space. And we are confident that there is something that brought you here, and there is something you will receive while you are here.
Yes, yes.
And so if you are a first-time guest, we'd love to stay in touch with you, and we believe that you would like to stay in touch with us. And so it's very easy to do that. You see the information here on your screen. Just text the word welcome to the number here on your screen, 347-472-1078. And when you text that number, you'll receive a reply with a link to our digital connection card. Click that link, enter your information, and submit it. Once you've submitted the information, you'll receive a follow-up text that says you're all set. And then you'll be on our mailing list. We send out an email every Friday with lots of pertinent information and things that you'll want to have in your inbox, as you'll see when we go through the announcements. And of course, we communicate periodically with the entire community as needed to keep you abreast of what's going on at CSC. So with that said, I think it's good that we get into the announcements so that we can get into the meditation, the music, and the message. Today is the final Sunday of Black History Month. Yes, this is a short month. It moves quickly, but we are grateful to be able to take intentional time to honor our ancestors, to honor those beautiful souls, those brilliant minds, those loving hearts that have shaped our past and prepared us for the future. And so we look to the past, we know the past, we understand, we learn from it so that we can shape our future intentionally, so that we can shape our future with more love, with more equity, with more inclusion, all of those wonderful things. And so what we've been doing this month is bringing your attention to some beautiful souls within New Thought, names that aren't well known, and we did that over the past 3 weeks. But I would be remiss if we did not also speak the names of some powerful folks in New Thought, names that you may already know, and of course that are included in the Gems of Wisdom from Black Leaders of New Thought publication that was published by the Unity Church. We've included in our weekly email a link that you can download this or receive it for yourself through Unity. So check your email, check the weekly email, and you'll see that link. But we have to speak the name of Reverend Johnny Coleman. We because of her, we can. Right, we are here because of her. While we could take some time to focus on the awful things that she had to experience, what we are more grateful for and more interested in is the power of her knowing, the power of her teaching, and how that gave birth to a powerful ministry, powerful churches, and more powerful teachers. We have, of course, a woman who I'm sure you all know, and some of you may not know that she was also a minister, also a New Thought minister. She was a beloved friend of Reverend Johnny Coleman, and Reverend Johnny Coleman became her teacher and her mentor, and ultimately she also became a minister. And Reverend Della Reese Lett, I was reminded in thinking about this, shout out to our sister, Reverend Sherry James, and the folks over at Up Church who did a wonderful play taking you through the life of Reverend Della Reese Lett and all of the things that she did in her career. And so Reverend Della Reese is someone who knew the truth, who spoke the truth, who taught the truth, who embodied the truth. So often we look to our great entertainers and folks in the world that are part of Black History and part of Black History Month because of what they've accomplished. And what we may not always realize is the consciousness that was behind their accomplishments. I'm thinking about people like Sherman Hemsley from the Jeffersons, who lived and studied the Kabbalion. There was a text that he kept with him all the time. There are so many folks that we have been celebrated. If you look at their lives, look at their consciousness, look at what they believe to be true, look at what they held to be true. And I've said this many times, you cannot, given the circumstances of what it means to be Black in America, you have to know something about yourself beyond what the world is saying about you. I could preach that, or like, you have to know you're worthy, right? You have to know that there is something in you, something powerful in you, something divine in you that is enabling you and empowering you to be great. There, you have to know that doors are open for you in consciousness, and that's why they open for you in the world. And so without fail, when you look to powerful folks that, again, many times are celebrated, particularly with Black History Month, and you celebrate Black achievement, look at their consciousness and you see it lines up with these metaphysical principles every time, all the time.
Yes, yes.
And another name, a name you may not know, Reverend Ruth Mosley, who is also a powerful teacher within the Unity Church. We talk about the story of how Reverend Johnny left the Unity Church because of excessive racism, right? That existed within the church. And there were others that stayed behind, but not just stayed behind and allowed things to continue as they were. And so Reverend Ruth Mosley is one of those that she started the Unity School of Urban Ministry. She said, we need a school. We need a safe place that we as Black folks can learn and teach each other these principles, right? And so there's a wonderful story. Again, if you have the text, you'll learn about the folks in Detroit, that initial group that became New Thought ministers and practitioners, and how that has given birth to so many others. And so these are names you should know, and names that we just want to speak out in their honor. We speak out because, again, Pastor Yolanda and I are so clear about the shoulders that we stand on, that for all that we do, and maybe someday, 50 years from now, someone will be speaking our names, but we recognize that any good that we've done, any impact that we've had in the world is empowered by the doors that were open for us many times before we even came to the planet.
Yes.
Right. And so we honor them. We love them. We love them. We love them. We are a church that believes in prayer, if you didn't know that already. And every Wednesday morning, we gather together for prayer for the Wednesday morning Momentum Prayer Call. It happens at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's very easy to join that call. You see the information here on your screen. Just call in, enter the access code, and wait. The prayer call is usually about 10 minutes, not very long. We share a reading, and we pray, and we move on with our day. We set a powerful foundation for that day. We continue the momentum that we've created on Sunday. And of course, for some of us, sometimes we're restarting our momentum in the middle of the week with the prayer call. Whatever that is, whatever place you find yourself in, it's all good. There's no judgment. But we encourage you to join us on Wednesday morning for the prayer call. If for some reason that time is not good for you or for your schedule, the prayer is recorded. And so you can use the playback number. Again, enter the access code and wait, and the most recent prayer will play. If you have a prayer request, we encourage you to send that prayer request to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. That request is received by us as the pastors and our prayer champions. We collectively are always holding the entire community and congregation in the highest knowing that all is and will be well with you and in your life. However, we recognize that there may be something specific that you want to leave at the door. As we would say in our in-person services, leave your worries at the door. You have that opportunity. And so you can, whatever is troubling you, you do not have to hold it. You can send in a prayer request and know that you have spiritual support. You have spiritual knowing that is walking with you and knowing with you and praying with you. And of course, if and when your prayer is answered, by all means, let us know. Send an email. Let us know the fruits of that prayer, the fruits of that knowing. And this may be for you. It may be for a loved one, a friend, anyone else. Put their name in the. Well, we don't have a prayer box, but if we had a prayer box, you put your name in the prayer inbox, and let the power of prayer do its work. We will be providing a update. I know there are a few folks that have been asking. We said that we would come to you in January with an update, but we will provide an update today at the end of service. We want to make sure as many people as possible hear our update, and so just a heads up. Don't leave right away at the end of service, because we do have an update as it relates to COVID and CSC and in-person services and all of that good stuff. Finally, and as I've shared over the past few weeks, we're not going to announce or advertise this after this month. We're always available to the extent that our schedule is available. But for those that are interested in one-on-one coaching, if you're interested in working with either one of us in that capacity, we do have some availability. And so we encourage
fewer slots than at the beginning of the month, but we do have some availability.
Absolutely. And so if you're interested, you can decide who you would like to work with and then email either one of us, and then we'll let you know what the next steps are from there. Again, coaching is something that we do and we offer, and that happens throughout the year, but it's not something that we advertise. So you probably won't hear us talking about coaching in this manner or any announcement for the remainder of the year. But at any point during the year, if you feel that coaching is something that you want to do or you want to work with either one of us, you can always reach out. So this is not a, this is the only time that you can reach out. We want to make sure you know that. Well, that concludes our announcements for today. And so now we are in the hands of Pastor Yolanda as we move into the meditation experience.
Yes. It is time to experience the truth that we know, the truth that we read. It is time to be the embodiment of love. It's been an interesting and a lovely opportunity this month to affirm a truth. I am the embodiment of love. It's been a beautiful opportunity to remind ourselves that we are this thing that love created us like itself. It's been an amazing opportunity to come together and witness and feel and connect to this truth within us. I love this affirmative thought. It is one that you take with you beyond Sunday. It is one that when your mind wants to drift off into what you're not, you bring it back to what you are. And the beautiful thing about practicing meditation is you get to experience the connection to God for yourself. This month, we are being intentional about reminding ourselves that we are love, giving ourselves love. Letting go of self-judgment and self-doubt and any fear or unworthiness that would prevent us from knowing. I am the embodiment of love. When you speak the I am, it is. You are the embodiment of love. This truth doesn't just happen. In the moment that we say it, it was the way that you were created. Now we get to experience it for ourselves. When we meditate, it shouldn't be a laborious process. It should be a gentle opening and allowing. And as we talk about being tender with ourselves, let's bring that tenderness into our meditative time. Let's bring that awareness that I am love, and love is gentle, and love is kind into our meditation. So if our thoughts wander, it is okay. We simply breathe. Come back to our truth, our thought, and begin again. No judgment. We just begin again in tenderness. So let's practice today. As I like to say, if you can breathe, you can meditate. And so all we ever do is allow the breath, practice that breath. So go ahead and look around the room. Why do we do that? We want to notice that we are in a safe place, a safe space, and that we are connected. So as you notice this connection, allow your ears to relax over your shoulders, shoulders over hips, so you're not leaning too far forward or too far back, or the arms are crossed in resistance. We just open to this truth that I am the embodiment of love. Then relax the palms down onto the tops of the thighs and close your eyes. Ah, that simple act of sinking into the self, into the love, into the truth is carried on the breath. So just notice the breath. And whether the breath appears to be deep or appears to be shallow, we worry not about the appearance. We just experience the breath. And each round, we relax a little more. And each round, we allow love a little more. Beautiful, everyone. And let's take conscious control of this breath. Let's use the power of decision and intention to send the breath and love into the low belly. And together, inhale on a count of 4, expand the low belly. Hold it there, count to 4. Now relax the jaw, sigh it out. And as you release it, the low belly draws in towards the spine. In through the low belly. Belly expands on the inhale, spine elongates, making room. Hold it there. Now sigh it out. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, keeping that nice long spine, expanding the front and the sides and the back of the body, letting that breath fill you up. Hold it there. And sigh it out. That felt so good. Let's expand, filling up even more, front and side and back. Hold it there. Without collapsing, sigh it out. As we are the embodiment of love, let's allow that breath to flow in and up through the heart chakra, center of the chest. Hold it there. Feeling the heart beating, feeling love moving, and sigh it out. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, up through the heart, expanding across the front of the chest and the back. Hold it there. And sigh it out. Let's practice this full breath in through the low belly, up through the rib cage. And this time, close the lips and nice and easy exhale through the nose. This easy breath, this loving breath is how we were designed to breathe. Let's use it as we practice meditation. In and out through the nose. Each round, relaxing another area of our body. Each round connecting us to the divine. Each round letting us feel what it feels like to be the embodiment of love. We want to allow this breath to flow through the entire body. We take our intention and our focus into the feet. Maybe you wiggle the toes or raise the heels if you're seated upright. Stop the movement, relax the feet, and feel love flowing, unobstructed, available. We give permission for this love, this breath to flow up through the soles of the feet, maintaining our connection, but flowing across the ankles. Relax the ankles. We say yes to the breath. We say yes to love as it flows up the shins and calves. Relax the shins and the calves. We remain open and flexible. As the energy flows across the knees, we bend and surrender to love. Relax the knees. Love knows that it is home within you, so allow it to flow across the thighs, the hamstrings, and the glutes. Relax the thighs, the hamstrings, and now the glutes. As you sink in deeper into your awareness of love, energy is allowed to flow. Relax the hips, the hip sockets, and prepare for the ascension of love. As the energy flows in and up, 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 and out the crown of our head. In your mind, imagine that this love, this field is open. It is above you, it is beneath you, it is all around you, connecting us to infinite intelligence, connecting us to wisdom and truth. We give wisdom, truth, and love permission to flow back down through the crown, balancing our third eye, opening our throat to speak this truth that I am the embodiment of love. Across our shoulders, and we feel it flowing down our arms, out our fingertips. And as we prepare for our silent time, scan the body. Notice if there is anywhere that you're not allowing love to flow. Give it permission now as you breathe into that area. If you choose, you can turn the palms up to receive, or turn the palms down to ground more. I will monitor the time. You just experience the divine, for you are the embodiment of love. And it will not be stopped by your worry, your doubt, your fear. It remains just as you do, the way that God created. If the mind wanders, again, it's okay. We lovingly, we tenderly bring it back to the truth that I am the embodiment of love now. With our eyes still closed, we feel love flowing. We neither block nor obstruct its flow. We remember that as we breathe, love is there and flowing. With our eyes still closed, we enjoy this time and sensation and experience of connection. With our eyes still closed, we remember that we can bring it back with us. So we leave behind any lingering worry, doubt, in favor of unconditional self-love. Let us remember this week and bring ourselves back to the practice of breathing, back to the practice of experiencing any time that we need. If the palms are turned up, go ahead and turn them down and begin the gentle, tender waking of our bodies. Maybe you wiggle the toes or the fingers, but plant the palms, inhale, draw the shoulders up by the ears. Exhale, release the shoulders back and down. Again, inhale up. Elongating the spine, getting circulation flowing. Exhale, shoulders draw down. Last time, inhale up. Nice and easy, releasing the shoulders back and down. Bring the palms together at heart center Feeling palm touching palm, thumbs lightly pressing into the sternum there. Bow the chin to the fingertips, noticing how the body responds to us. As we bend, the spine opens. Slowly flutter the eyes open. Soft gaze, no strain on the eyes. Inhale, raise the chin. Exhale. Namaste.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
We are the embodiment of love. And so now it is time to embody that love through song. And then I will meet you on the other side of that song with the final message for this month's series. It's all about love, love you. So I'll see you on the other side. Let's enjoy the song. There's always a choice. The path of fear or the path of love. But what my life has proven to me over and over again is that love is the way. Yes, yes? Yes. So we're going to affirm this truth in song. But if I don't have love, does it profit? Yes, yes, yes. So never forget, love is the more excellent way. Thank you, Soul 21. I love that song, and I'm grateful to be able to arrange that song in that way so that we can remember this truth and take it with us melodically. Well, hello again. Good morning. It's so good to be here with each and every one of you. We have been in a beautiful process this month of focusing on what it means to love ourselves. Right? We hear that powerful verse given to us through Jesus that we should love our neighbors as ourselves. And so inherent in that statement, while most people are focusing on loving their neighbor and we should love our neighbors and we should do all of those wonderful things for and with our neighbor, but as ourselves means that we have to first love ourselves, we have to know how to love ourselves, and we have to practice that fully. And so we've been, again, in a beautiful process of unfolding and understanding and looking at what it means to love ourselves and how to love ourselves in profound ways. It is my prayer that this series has impacted you and opened your eyes to new ways of embracing yourself and loving yourself. We started in week 1 with More Than I Can Bear, with the idea that actually one of the most loving acts we can give ourselves is to seek support, is to seek assistance, to reach out to our community, to reach out to our caregivers, to reach out to our physicians, to reach out to our practitioners, to reach out to our therapist, right? Recognizing that actually the truth of life is sometimes we are an experience of it being more than we can bear. Right. And that's actually OK, because just like every superhero is in, and when we watch superhero movies, right, every hero and shero ends up in a predicament where they need the support of someone else. So it is the same for you. Right. We don't judge Superman when he needs the assistance of Batman or the assistance of Batman and Wonder Woman, right? We recognize that, oh yeah, that's how it happens, right? We don't judge the Avengers when they need each other's support because we recognize that that's how it is. We don't criticize them like they should be strong enough or stronger superheroes or something, right? And so this is the same for us. Yes, you are amazing. Yes, you are powerful. Yes, you are brilliant. Yes, you may be strong. And yet we all need support. So one of the most loving things we can do is undo the idea that God would give us more than we can bear, and undo the idea that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, and begin to seek support. In week 2, stay fly. Fly is an acronym standing for First Love Yourself. And we talked about what it looks like to first love ourselves. And I gave you the 5 A's of attention and acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowing, and begin to practice that for ourselves so that we're not just practicing self-care based on the fad, based on the trend, even based on spending money to practice self-care. But we're starting with those 5 A's and asking ourselves what it is that we need most, and lovingly providing those things through that lens. Last week, before and after, I shared the story of how Pastor Yolanda and I came to create our love and service agreement. And one of the agreements that we have in there is making space, recognizing that there will be busy times with all that we have to do in this work. And so knowing that there will be busy times, in the agreement, we said set aside time before or after for refreshment and replenishment. But actually, we recognize that it's actually before and after. And so I invited you to consider, what if it's like a warm up and a cool down before a workout? You warm up, you get your body ready, then you do the workout, and then you also have a cool down. And so we can begin to live life in the same way, that we start to look at the before and after, and really intentionally love ourselves and give ourselves the care that we need. So I want to take your minds to an experience that I'm sure all of us have had, right? There's very few people probably that haven't had this experience, but you all know it. When you get on a flight, on a commercial flight, before it takes off, we hear some version of this message from flight attendants as part of their pre-flight speech. Should the cabin lose pressure, oxygen masks will drop from the overhead area. Please place the mask over your mouth and nose before assisting others. And usually there's that one flight, somebody's speaking, you hear it over the loudspeaker intercom, while the other attendants are actually demonstrating what it looks like to put the mask on. Yes, yes, we're all familiar with that. And without giving it much thought, we all know why this instruction is given. If you don't have enough or any oxygen, you could pass out or die before you're actually able to assist someone else. This is wise and practical instruction. We get it. I was reminded, this is funny now because this movie is so old, but I was reminded of the movie Top Gun. And it was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, and I thought one day I might become a fighter pilot. But I remember a scene in that movie where they're going through, wrong movie, Navy. Officer and a Gentleman is the movie, yes. In An Officer and a Gentleman, an even older movie, they're going through a flight training procedure to feel what it's like when you don't have enough oxygen. And so they're not wearing the mask, and they're doing different things. Two partners are like counting cards, and then you have other partners that are doing like a patty cake thing. And you see like they start to get real loopy, and it gets really scary. And one of the officers in training, he doesn't want to put on the oxygen. He's trying to fight through. He thinks he's strong enough, right? And he ends up passing out, right? So we recognize that it's a serious situation when you don't have enough oxygen. And so you actually can't help anybody. We understand that. It's wise and it's practical instruction. We get it. Now, is this the only scenario where this wisdom makes sense? Is this the only scenario in any area of life where we can use this wisdom? Is this the only area where we can put on the oxygen mask, metaphorically? Now, of course, the answer is a resounding no. We all know that we can actually apply that same wisdom to many, many areas of our lives. A minister once shared a quote with me from Pastor John Osteen, who is the father of Joel Osteen. John Osteen famously said, "Keep the barrel full and dip off the top." Now, Pastor John Osteen was a Texan, and this sounds Texan to me. I don't know. Shout out to our people from Texas, because I imagine that he had some experience with barrels and possibly getting drinking water from a barrel using a dipper, or maybe even providing drinking water to animals from a barrel. And so that's why he says, keep the barrel full and dip off the top. Now, I don't know much about barrels, so I'm going to switch it up a bit and just say, keep your vessels full and dip off the top. To put it more succinctly, give from your overflow. Now, I want you all to just take a breath with me right now. Let's just breathe in and let's breathe out. And I want you to ask yourself just a very honest question, right? We're going to keep it real. This is all family. This is a safe space. Is your vessel full today? Take another breath in and out. Is your cup running over? No heat, no judgment. Take another breath if you need to. And when you think over the course of your week or the course of the past month or past few months, is your vessel generally full? Again, take a breath. Now, if your vessel is full today, this sermon will support you in keeping it full. If your vessel is partially filled, this sermon will support you in getting it back to an optimal level. And if your vessel is empty or almost empty with just a few drops, I'm going to share with you some practices to refill, replenish, and recharge your vessel. Now, this quote from John Osteen, there are so many things I love about this quote. Keep your barrel full and dip off the top. Now, the first thing is, it's kind of folksy, right? Dip off the top. But dipping off the top, to me, in my hearing, doesn't signify sacrifice. Dipping off the top, when I hear it, does not indicate going out of your way to help someone. Dipping off the top does not point to giving being painful or harmful in any way. See, one of the things that we think and what we've learned, and I pray that CSC continues to support us in unlearning, is what giving looks like, right? Giving is not sacrifice. You're not supposed to lose out so that you're giving to someone else, or, oh, well, it's really the nice thing to do. I'm just so glad I could help somebody. I went out of my way, or yes, it was difficult, or yes, it was an inconvenience, but, I'm supposed to give to my neighbor, and so I did that. Dipping off the top doesn't indicate that, because that image of you just take a dipper and you're just dipping off the top, you're not going all the way down to the bottom of the barrel, right? Taking the last bit. Oh, well, this is my last, but you really need it, right? We're not doing that. Just dip off the top. It's just what's right there. It's easy, it's available, it's convenient. There's a lightness and an ease in dipping off the top. And like the oxygen mask, you're breathing and receiving the oxygen you need, which makes it easy to assist and support someone else who may be in need. Now, in week 2 in Stay Fly, I introduced the 5 A's. I just mentioned them earlier: attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowing. Well, today, I want to introduce you to the 3 F's. And the 3 F's are faith, finance, and fun. You can say that with me if you want. The 3 F's are faith, finance, and fun. Now, the 3 F's are a way for us to take an assessment, a way for us to check in on the state of our vessel. Because we understand the principle, right? We get it. It's wise. Just like we understand, without even thinking about it, why we're admonished on the plane to put on our oxygen mask first before assisting others or small children, right? We recognize the wisdom of the saying, keep your barrel full and dip off the top. We get it, right? Keep your vessel full. Give from your overflow. But we need a way to check in. We need a way to understand and really see what is the state of our vessel. And that starts with faith. Now, y'all know there's no way that we could do a sermon series on loving yourself and not remind you of one of the guiding principles of Celebration Spiritual Center. What is that guiding principle? Daily spiritual practice is what? Not an option. Yes, yes. And as we unfold what that means, we share on our website, in order to come to a full realization of who and what we are as the very image and likeness of God, we must engage in a daily spiritual practice that keeps us in touch with the world beyond our 5 senses. At Celebration Spiritual Center, we teach: in worship, we celebrate God. In meditation, we contact God. In prayer, we know God. And in living, we activate God. Worship, meditation, prayer, and living are at the heart of our daily spiritual practice. Now, one of the questions that PY and I ask consistently when we're working with someone in class or in spiritual counseling is, how's your spiritual practice? It's sort of like a doctor asking to check your oxygen level. Because, see, what we hear as folks begin to share the predicament and the challenges of their lives, what we're hearing is, spiritually, this person doesn't have oxygen. Because if they had oxygen, they would be able to function in a certain way, right? When you start to have oxygen, they would be able to think in a certain way. When they have oxygen, they would be able to respond to the circumstances of their life in a certain way. And you see, oftentimes we get in an unhealthy cycle without realizing it. All of a sudden, life gets really hard. All of a sudden, we start to struggle. All of a sudden, we feel like we can't get out of it. But it didn't happen all of a sudden. right? It was, we were doing our practices and we were in our mode and in our thing. And one day we didn't, and another day we didn't. And then it turned into a here and there. And then it turned into not doing it at all. And then we become aware, thankfully, because pay attention inward now, is getting our attention. And so we ask the question, how's your spiritual practice? It's a great question to ask to get a sense of if your vessel is full or the level of where your vessel is. I was reminded of many years ago when I found myself in this predicament of life being hard and just feeling like I was struggling and feeling like I was in a cycle that I couldn't get out of. And I remember coming to myself and having a realization that I wasn't in gratitude for the things I had in my life. Right? I realized that I didn't appreciate my apartment, the apartment that I almost lost, right? And thankfully through, that's another story, many of you have heard it, but thankfully through, a miraculous set of events, right, I was able to keep my apartment. And so now I'm back in the apartment and I'm like, you know what? I didn't appreciate this place. I didn't appreciate this thing that I have. I didn't appreciate these walls. I didn't appreciate this floor. I didn't appreciate this kitchen, right? And so I began to just bless my whole apartment, not bless it in the sense of, anointing it with oil, but blessing it with gratitude. And so I realized, I need to get a gratitude practice going. And so I put signs all around my apartment. On my door as I would leave my apartment, the sign said, "Be grateful." I had it on my mirror. I had it the wall when I got up and looked across the room when I woke up each morning. It said, "Be grateful," because I knew I needed to bring my mind back to that. And so that became my spiritual practice, right? That became my daily spiritual practice. And I think this is interesting because one of the things that we talk about often is the simplicity of your daily spiritual practice. When you hear daily spiritual practice is not an option, we're not talking about arduous work or arduous tasks. Again, this idea that worship, meditation, and prayer and living are at the heart of our daily spiritual practice, because through living we activate God. Practice the practice. 5-5-5, 15 minutes a day. Right? For those of you, if you've never heard about this, please go to our YouTube channel, look up Practice the Practice. We taught the whole process, and there's a link, you can download the materials so that you can learn how to begin to develop your own spiritual practice. 5 minutes of reading something that's empowering and encouraging, that brings your mind to what is true beyond what's going on in the world, right? 5 minutes of writing that's affirmative, writing that's creative and beneficial, not writing about your problems, but you can write out your prayer. You could write 3 gratitudes a day, right? You could write and begin to create the day as you would like it to be. I'm so grateful, happy and grateful now that the meetings that I have today are successful and we make progress. I am so happy and grateful now that I close X number of deals, right? And so you're operating in this affirmative way, not just writing for the sake of writing. And then 5 minutes of sitting in stillness, sitting in silence, right? Using the methods that you learn from Pastor Yolanda each and every Sunday, right? And sitting in that silence, 15 minutes a day. It's got to be easy. Again, we're talking about dipping off the top. And so of giving to yourself first, it's got to be easy. Because what's happening, your daily spiritual practice is giving to you. Your daily spiritual practice is how you keep your vessel full. See, the input and information that we take in with our eyes do not and cannot feed our spirit. I want you to hear this again. The inputs and information that we take in with our eyes, with our other senses, all of our 5 senses, cannot and do not feed our spirit. Now, they may do that on a temporary level. I know this. You can see a piece of art and it's like, wow, it's transcended. It sends you somewhere. You can listen to a piece of music and it takes you somewhere. But the thing about it, anything in this external environment, the reason why it cannot ultimately feed our spirit is because it's temporary, which is why we have to reach after that high over and over again. And when I use high, it doesn't have to be negative. Again, you have to keep listening to music in order to get that feeling, or you got to listen to a new piece of music, or you got to look at a new piece of art, or you got to try a new restaurant, or right, all of these different things, because the things in this world are temporary, right? They can't ultimately feed our spirit, but the things of God are eternal. The things of God are those things that sustain us. And so that's why we must have something that supports us in doing what we shared, that keeps us in touch with the world beyond our five senses. So that then you walk through the world anchored and tethered to the divine knowingness, anchored and tethered to that complete knowing. And so then you're not swayed by what you see. You're not taken in by what you see, but you can look at it accordingly and put it in its proper place, right? It no longer has power over you and your life. So that's faith. Daily spiritual practice. You're checking in. How's my practice? I'm experiencing some pain. I'm experiencing some challenge. Well, what have I been doing from a faith perspective to keep my barrel full? And then we have finance, the second F. Now, we all know that when our money ain't right, when we don't have enough money or think we don't have enough, it can feel like we can barely breathe. I wish we were in the room so everybody raise your hands. How many people been in that place? You know that feeling when you don't have enough money, right? When you don't have enough of what you need, it's an awful feeling. Right? And it can feel, it's so constricting. It feels like we can barely breathe, right? It feels so bad that as humans, English speakers, we have these phrases like, yeah, I'm just keeping my head above water, right? Which is terrible because, sometimes that means you're dipping down and so you can't fully breathe, right? And then we have other phrases like, if you don't have enough, so then you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Which indicate just how bad it feels to not have enough and the things we begin to engage in when we don't have enough. Because it's interesting metaphysically when we understand our language, right? When we say, oh yeah, I got to rob Peter to pay Paul. So we may not be going out committing the crime and robbing another human or robbing a store or robbing a bank. But in consciousness, we're committing a crime because we don't feel like we have enough, which is always the root of crime. That's the root of greed, right? That's the root of that thing. The scarcity and lack mindset is what puts us in the place of robbing, even if we're robbing ourselves. So this finance check-in is not about being or becoming wealthy. Now, being wealthy is wonderful, and I see that for each and every one of you who desires it and believes that it's possible. Yes, yes, amen, right? But this is not about that. The finance check-in is something very specific because this finance check-in is actually really freeing. Because you see, oftentimes our worry about money is not actually for money that we need right now. Right? So you may have, say there was something you need to pay next Sunday, you need $1,000. And you're worried now because you don't have $1,000. But do you need $1,000 now or do you need $1,000 on next Sunday? I hope that just freed somebody. And so often we're living in worry and we actually don't even need the thing now that we think we need. Now, why is that important? Because, we know that worry is a misuse of imagination, right? And we know that we are creative according to our thought. And so if I'm now worried about not having the $1,000 that I need next week, all I am doing is creating the conditions by which the universe will respond to me accordingly and say, oh yeah, you don't have enough, you don't have enough. And every day I'm just creating, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough. Although I don't need it right in this moment, I'm already creating and creating momentum around the very thing that I don't want. So this finance check-in then is an opportunity for us to understand what it means to have. And I was reminded in Money is God in Action, Raymond Charles Barker writes something that I think is so freeing. He wrote this: I have often defined prosperity as a state wherein I am always able to do what I want to do at the instant of time that I want to do it. I'm going to read that again. I have often defined prosperity as a state of being wherein I am always able to do what I want to do at the instant of time that I want to do it. In other words, if all the people attending a metaphysical lecture had sufficient money in their pockets to place a generous contribution in the offering plate, and they had sufficient money in their pockets to have transportation home, then at that instant they would be prosperous, despite what their bank account revealed, because they would have what they needed to have to do the thing they wanted to do at the instant they wanted to do it. I'm going to read that again. At the instant they would be prosperous despite what their bank account revealed, because they would have what they needed to have to do the thing they wanted to do at the instant they wanted to do it. So when I talk about this finance check-in, this is not about what your bank account reveals. Again, I love that he writes, despite what your bank account revealed. Ask yourself this question, this check-in question. Do I have what I need to do the thing I want or need to do in this moment? And further, do I need to do that thing in this moment? Because again, the $1,000 that you need next week, you don't need it now. But in this moment, do I have the thing that I need to do what I need to do in this moment? Do I have the money to get to work? Do I have the money to go to the store? Do I have the money to pay Netflix so I can watch a movie on TV? Right? And so to the extent that you have what you need to do the thing that you want to do at the instant that you want to do it, you are prosperous. PY and I were talking about this the other day. I was like, if I just decided I want to go to Coney Island and eat a hot dog and ride the Wonder Wheel and come back home, I have that desire, I make that decision, and whatever the amount of money is, I have that amount of money to do that and come home without worry, doubt, or fear. I am prosperous. And so we check in this way because, again, we can get so far off in the worry. We can get so far off into what we need next week. We can get so far off in what we need 3 months from now. We can get so far off in what we need for next year. But do I have what I need right now? I shared with someone once, you can't breathe for next year. You're not worried about, oh, Lord, eventually it's going to be February 2023. I hope there's enough oxygen for me in February 2023. And so this is a new mindset that you can tap into, again, particularly if you find yourself worrying about money and worrying about finances. And why is this important? Because having is the secret. You can go back and look at that message of the same title. Right? We recognize that because the universe responds to the pattern of our thought and belief, if you're thinking and knowing, I have what I need to do what I need to do right now. I have what I need to do right now in this instant, then the universe is going to keep responding to your knowingness of having. So then when you get to Sunday, you'll have the $1,000 that you needed for that thing. As long as you think I don't have or focus on I don't have, the universal law responds to that accordingly. And on the other side, as long as you think I have now, I have now, the universe responds accordingly. Faith, finance, and finally, fun. Now, I love this because, as usually happens as I'm preparing for the sermon, a article came to my awareness this week as I was reading. It's a post from on Well and Good, and the title is "Micro Vacations Can Help Prevent Burnout." And we read this: contrary to popular belief, burnout isn't reserved for folks who don't like their job. It also happens to people who love what they do and can even occur for reasons that have nothing to do with work. As is the case with a caregiver or marital burnout, it stands to reason then that all people might benefit from learning creative ways for treating and, better yet, preventing this condition from happening in the first place. Cue micro vacations, which can ease and perhaps eliminate the risk of burnout by giving you more control of your schedule and helping you disconnect from the causes of your stress. And so Hannah Young, who is a clarity and mindset coach who was interviewed for this and was part of a podcast that was talking about this, what she does is she schedules what she calls boredom days, which essentially refers to clearing her schedule and doing only what she wants to do on that day. A complete boredom day is unstructured playtime like you would give yourself when you were a child, says Young. I make no plans with anybody. I wake up when I want. I feel into what I'm craving that day, just like you would doing during vacation. Right now, this is interesting for those of you who have studied Money is My Friend with me or read the book in the past. You know that Phil Lott gives us an experiment, right, where we sit in bed all day, which is a beautiful, wonderful thing because you realize, everything still happens, life still happens, and all is well. You can actually just pull away, right, and give yourself this 24-hour gift, right, and the sky is not going to fall, right, to give yourself this unstructured playtime. As I read that and heard that specific idea of unstructured playtime, it reminded me even of a vision quest, right, where you just move throughout your day and you follow where you're being led. You go out without a plan. And so to expand on this a little bit and why I was so excited to hear this term coined as micro vacations, I'll share a quarterly schedule that was shared with me along with that John Osteen quote, right? Keep your barrel full and dip off the top. Keep the barrel full and dip off the top. Along with this quote, I was given this quarterly share that I've incorporated into my life throughout the years. So each quarter, right, we have 4 quarters in the year, schedule the following. Give yourself 2 Sabbath breaks, 2 days per quarter, which is the micro vacation, right? To do whatever you want to do. It's unscheduled time, no agenda. You're not taking meetings. If you want to just sit around and eat popcorn and watch TV, you can do that, right? You want to do a staycation at a really nice hotel suite or something, whatever that looks like, right? You give yourself 2 days a quarter, right? And then also, you give yourself a reading/study break, 2 days a quarter. Now, one of the things that's interesting for me and for us as pastors, right? I mean, you think about it. How do we incorporate time to prepare for all of these sermon series? And how do I keep my barrel full, right? Because I read for myself, right? But then I'm also reading and studying to teach. And so we can put that intentional time in there, which is really wonderful, right? Of giving yourself deliberate 2 days per quarter. Something that we do, and I know many nonprofits do, and the nonprofit that I work for, we have reading days that are part of our package, right? So we have our vacation days, we have our sick days, and we have reading days. You can take a reading day to read and research something related to something you're working on, or related to something within the organization, or something that's happening in the world that's related, because you have to give yourself that time. And so you can deliberately schedule those 4 different days in the quarter. However you choose to do it, if you want to call it micro vacation, if you want to call it a boredom day, if you want to call it a do nothing day, right? That's all up to you. But we recognize that this is how we incorporate fun in an intentional way, right? Giving yourself a break, because we do recognize that this is not about, and I love how here in Well and Good, they talk about this is not just about, oh, I hate my job, so I need a mental health day, or I hate doing this thing, right? I love what I do. I love being a pastor. I love being here with all of you, right? I love teaching and preaching. And yet, if I don't give myself certain times, right? If I don't step away, right? If I don't do those things as I talked about, and I could have gone into a long study on that last week, but I just mentioned it, that we see that in the life of Jesus, right? Over and over again. There are about 20 different verses that show us that he stepped away, right? That showed us that he moved back and took time and took intentional time in times of grief and other moments. Keep your vessel full and dip off the top. No matter what state your vessel might be in right now, take a loving assessment using the 3 F's. Take a loving assessment of faith, finances, and fun. Ask yourself, how's your spiritual practice, self? Or as I would ask myself, Greg, how's your spiritual practice? What things are you doing to take your eyes and mind off of the 5 sense world and tap back into reality, capital R, reality? Finance check-in. Despite what my bank account reveals, do I have what I need to do the thing I want to do or need in this moment? And remind yourself that you're prosperous. And finally, fun. Schedule micro vacations. Be deliberate and intentional about it. Be open and creative about the ways that you use that time. Be flexible, but make it non-negotiable. Because we know that if we don't include that time, it leads to burnout. We know that if we don't put on the mask and we don't have oxygen, it could have us loopy and passing out. And if we're not clear, if we're not coherent, right, there's no way that we can support anyone else. And so I am so grateful and thankful for each and every one of you for being here and embracing this series this month, embracing this teaching this month, as we endeavor to love ourselves, because it is the only way that we can adequately and appropriately love people. Next month, we're going to talk about what that looks like. I think it's really appropriate, even as we think about that being our anniversary month. And of course, CSC was created to serve. CSC was created to empower others to live their greatest lives. But we recognize that first starts from knowing who and what God is and how it works, what it does and how to use it, how to love ourselves. And then we can dip off the top. So I invite you to take a breath in right here and right now. Breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. There is one mind, one power, one presence that is working in all, through all, and as all. There is one love that is working in us, through us, and as us. I choose to call it Mother, Father, God. I know that the name matters not, but the recognition is paramount. We recognize that it is, and it neither comes nor goes. As we recognize that God is, we acknowledge and remember that we are one with God and one of God. We are divine. We are individualized expressions of this ultimate expression that is love, that is joy, that is peace, that is wisdom, that is creative intelligence. It is the unending ocean, and we are the ever-expressing wave. And so as I know that to be true, I now speak this word in faith. I am grateful and thankful for these beautiful souls that are here now, who have set the intention to love themselves so that they can be of service in the world. Leaving behind the painful, sacrificial ways of being, leaving behind the old way of giving and giving and giving and giving because it's good to do or nice to do, and not worrying about ourselves or not thinking that we matter. We forgive ourselves and we set ourselves free, and we set an intention on this day to remember the truth that we have community, to remember the truth that we have support, to remember that God shows up as our doctors, as our therapists, as our caregivers, as our community, as our congregation, as those that love us and are here to support us as we support each other in living our greatest lives. I am so grateful and thankful for the admonishment to stay fly. We first love ourselves. We pay attention to ourselves. We accept ourselves. We allow good to come to ourselves. We allow good ideas to come to us that show us how to love ourselves in beautiful and more profound ways. And we appreciate ourselves. We bless our bodies. We bless our hands. We bless our very being. It does not matter what anyone else thinks. It does not matter what anyone else says or how anyone else perceives us. We bless ourselves and love ourselves now. And we choose to be intentional about the moments that we move through our lives, the before and the after, knowing that there must be a warm up and there must be a cool down. Again, we forgive ourselves and set ourselves free for the times that we did not know to warm up and cool down. And we may have experienced a setback. We may have experienced some pain. We may have experienced some soreness, but we know now. And so we intend and intentionally choose to walk through life and exemplify that way of being. We exemplify it as we lead in our lives. We exemplify it as we are the parents in our lives. We exemplify it as we are teachers. We exemplify it in our businesses. We exemplify this idea of the warm up and the cool down, being intentional at all stages of the unfolding of our lives so that we can be our best selves. And finally, we are clear that we must keep our vessels full. We are clear that we must put the mask on so that we can assist others, so that we can support others. So we are so grateful and thankful for the lens of the 3 F's. We are so grateful and thankful for the lens of faith, finance, and fun. And we choose here and now to make sure that we are doing the things and thinking the things that are required in those areas of life that keep our vessel full so that we dip off of the top. No more sacrifice, no more reaching all the way down to the bottom of the vessel, no more giving our last drops, but giving easily and effortlessly from the top. We choose to live from our overflow. So it is with joy and thanksgiving that I release this prayer. I release it back into the law, which is always in operation, knowing that it is always responding to the fruit and intention behind our word, the vibration. So we let it be, and we relax and allow letting God do God's work elegantly and brilliantly. For this truth, we are so very grateful. Together we say, amen, ashe, and so it is, and so it is.
Ah, yes, yes. Keep your vessel full.
Yes, yes.
You know, as PG was sharing that analogy, that way of thinking about making sure that we are replenished. If you think about if you think about a barrel, how big that is, and how much has to be in place, how much is there. It's not filling up a thimble and giving off the top. It's a barrel. That's how much goodness needs to be in place in you. Yeah. That's how much support needs to be there. That's how much love needs to be there. Yeah. That's how much your spiritual practice feeds this big vessel.
Yep.
And then you take a little off the top.
Yeah.
That preaches itself. Right? Not a thimbleful. I mean, Louise Hay says that you can take whatever vessel you want into consciousness and it will fill it. Yeah. Take it to the ocean of prosperity and it will fill it.
Yes.
A thimble, a cup with a hole in it, or a barrel.
Yes, yes.
The spiritual practice is filling that vessel, and then you give. Now, don't fill up your vessel with worry, doubt, and fear either. Use your spiritual practice to fill it up with goodness, with truth, with knowing, with self-love. At CSC, we preach Practical spirituality. This is practical, y'all.
Absolutely.
These steps are practical so that you can give from your overflow.
Yes, yes.
Keep it full.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Peachy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And so in this moment, you see it is time for giving, and you've seen the information on how to give throughout the stream, but it's very easy. You can go to celebrationsc.org/give, our website, or you can text to give. You can text your dollar amount to 347-744-9500. There is a $10 minimum to text to give. But more importantly, we want you to give. We encourage you to give what feels good. And what we mean by that is there has to be a knowing behind your giving, because that's actually what the universe is responding to, right? There is a blessing in giving. But if we're giving from this mindset, as I talked earlier about robbing Peter to pay Paul, and there's not enough, but I really love Pastor Greg and Pastor Yolanda, I really want to give, and CSC is so awesome, but I really just don't have enough. Like all of that energy, right? That's the energy, unfortunately, that you would then be planting, and that's the energy that the universe is responding to. And so give what feels good. What's your joy number, right? What's that amount that you give without worry, without doubt? You can set it and forget it, whatever it may be. That's where we give from, and that's why we admonish you to give what feels good. Because when you give what feels good, when you give from that good feeling tone, understanding that our streams of income are just resources, but God is the source behind them all, then you can affirm this truth as we affirm each and every week. All the money that I use, returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle. Of increase. And enjoyment. Yes, yes, yes. And so to that we say amen.
Amen.
Ashe. And so it is.
So it is.
So it must be. So it must be. And so briefly, before we close this service, as we shared during the announcements, we wanted to give you a update related to COVID-19. Just before the fall was the last time that we provided an update, and we said that we were going to remain virtual until the new year. We were looking at the case numbers, and of course knew that there would be a wave in the winter. We could not have anticipated that there would also be the variant that it came through and is still present throughout this winter. And so where we stand now, we thought at that time that we would be able to issue out a new survey in January to get a sense of where the community is at, so that we could start to make certain plans. But again, because of the Omicron wave, it was clear that everything needed to kind of remain as it was until then. So when we look at where we are now, we are grateful that case numbers have lowered significantly here in New York and here in Brooklyn. By many accounts, cases have lowered by 75%. And case numbers, for just to understand where we are relatively, are back to where they were in November, right? So one, that's very important, right? Because if we were confident that we should be closed in November, technically nothing has changed in that regard, right? So that's one of the reasons why we remain virtual. Also, although case numbers have lowered, I was using the example as PY and I were talking, if someone was punching you 100 times an hour and if that's lowered by 75%, they're punching you 25 times an hour, they're still punching you, right? And why do I say that? Well, we recognize that we are actually still in the Delta levels of this pandemic. And we're actually seeing, although deaths are the lagging indicator that happens after there's so many cases, deaths are higher right now here in the United States than they were last year this time. So we're still in a very critical space, right? We're still in a space where we really need to be mindful, particularly when we think of a gathering of 200 people. Right. One of the other things, some may be aware, some may not be aware, but where we hold services, and really almost anywhere we would hold services, but specifically where we hold our services at Restoration Plaza, it is under the key to the city mandate, which means that anyone who enters the building, enters Restoration Plaza, would need to be fully vaccinated. It means that we would need to provide a list of names to Restoration Plaza week in and week out,
every week.
In order for us to have service. So one of the things that we recognize is we want to be able to open in a way that, for lack of a better comparison, is as close to what it was when we were last in person, right? We recognize that COVID being here and will be here for a while, so it's not going to look exactly like it did pre-March 2020. But we want to be as close to that as possible. But recognizing that, we know that if we decided to open the doors of CSC today, it would take a 6 to 9 week ramp up because there are so many new protocols that we have to account for. We would need to train up and retrain our volunteers. It's been 2 years. I think all of our volunteers, yes, if you know, all of our volunteers would need some refresher training, right, in terms of ushering and being hosts and all of those things. But then we have the other layers now as it relates to COVID. So one of the reasons that we'll continue to pause and remain virtual, as so many other churches are doing, is that we're waiting to hear from our mayor, Mayor Eric Adams, who said on this past week that he should be making an announcement in the next few weeks as it relates to the keys to the city mandate. Because again, that radically changes things. If there isn't a vaccine mandate, right, we're not checking vaccine cards and all of those things that, of course, restaurants have had to deal with, and I just think churches really shouldn't have to deal with. So that would change, again, what we're thinking about and how we would need to plan. So as we still are in a place of prevention and protection, right? We know that it's not about one measure being everything, right? Vaccines is not the only measure. Masks are not the only measure. Distancing is not the only measure, right? We bring these things together
in a holistic way,
and we lower the risk, which is all any of us can do, right? We're not eliminating risk. And so we want to continue to do that. We know that, again, approximately 200 people, which is the level that our attendance was at March 2020, right? Bringing 200 people together is not ideal. And again, we recognize that we would actually be placing a larger burden and expectation on our volunteers given the current circumstances and all that would be required in order to comply with what's happening here in our city and also our state, because the CDC is saying many things, and that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, the state and local communities really have jurisdiction. And so that's what we must go by. We look at our health requirements for the city. It's still listing our zip code as substantial spread, right? So those things are very important to understand. And again, for those reasons, we're going to continue to remain virtual for now. But again, there's more information coming. We're looking to hear from our mayor and take that into consideration along with city health officials.
And so we operate, as we always do, with intention and the abundance of care. And we do things in excellence.
Yeah.
And so if we cannot open and remain open, that's another reason.
That's another big thing, yeah.
We're not going to open and close.
Yeah.
There are individuals who are part of our community, our volunteers, who have now moved on to a new location. And so it's not just a refresh.
Yeah.
It is bringing on new volunteers. There's a whole way of the way we run our smooth, beautiful, powerful services that requires us to have those volunteers.
Yeah.
And so we want to make it safe for them and for you to experience CSC in person.
Yes.
So all of that is what we consider.
Yes.
We miss seeing you
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
person.
Absolutely.
We understand and know that you miss seeing us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reason that we have been intentional in broadcasting every week is because we know that you need and you want to remember the truth.
Absolutely.
We do it
Absolutely.
because we love you. We
Absolutely.
do it because this is a way of creating and maintaining the vibration that we always had consistently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every week.
Absolutely.
No matter what is happening on the outside, you can tune in to CSC and feel something on the inside.
Absolutely.
So it was important that we bring you this information so that you know we are always on top of it, we are always monitoring, and we are always assessing when and how we return in person.
Yeah.
But for now, we will keep bringing the goodness online.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will share more next month. We will, at the end of the month, and we'll announce more next week, we will be holding our annual meeting, our Mission 90 meeting. And so we'll be sharing more about some thoughts and ideas and plans that we're working on and working out. If things remain the same, if things change, we do believe that there's some creative things that we can do and some things that we can implement that we're excited about sharing with you. And again, so look for that announcement next week as we will hold our annual meeting next month.
And our annual meeting is something that we haven't done because of the conditions in the last couple of years, but it's something that we always do in terms of transparency with our members and those who are supporting CSC.
Right.
And so we want to reactivate that step so that you know what our intentions are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we love you all. We pray that you continue to be safe and well and do those things that keep you and your loved ones safe. We look forward to seeing you, many of you connecting on the Momentum Prayer Call on Wednesday. And if not then we will be back here next Sunday together as we move into the third part of this series. It's all about love people. So we just love y'all, and we hope that you have a good week and a good remainder of your Sunday.
Absolutely. Love you all.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.